Hey friends, today we're going to practice listening for information and taking notes. This is going to be great practice for you for middle school. In middle school science and social studies classes, you'll be expected to listen to the teacher explain concepts and take notes on important ideas and vocabulary words. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how Earth's systems interact. I want you to listen for information and vocabulary words. Take notes while I'm explaining, and feel free to pause the video to give yourself time to write. I also encourage you to rewind the video if you think you missed an important idea or to double check your notes. Okay, so let's talk about how the hydrosphere, biosphere, geosphere, and atmosphere are all interconnected. This means that all of the systems interact with each other. They influence each other. A change in one sphere can cause a change in another sphere. So let's begin with an example of how the atmosphere and the geosphere interact. This is actually the second to last note-taking box on your second slide. So as I'm explaining this, I want you to type the information that you hear. Remember that you can pause the video to give yourself time to catch up. Okay, so wind and clouds in the atmosphere interact with landforms to determine patterns of weather. When we talk about weather, we mean the daily conditions in the atmosphere of a local area. Many conditions make up the weather, including the following: cloud cover, wind, humidity, and temperature, which is how hot or cold the air is. One condition that's important to consider when planning a vacation is rainfall. Rain is one type of precipitation. Okay, so looking at this diagram, think about which sphere I was talking about. When we talk about the weather, we mean the daily conditions in the atmosphere. So that would be this area of the diagram, including the following: cloud cover, which we can see here, wind, which we could kind of imagine swirling through the atmosphere and shifting sand, soil, and affecting the water, waves, things like that, as well as temperature, which is how hot or cold the air is. Wind and clouds in the atmosphere interact with landforms to determine patterns of weather. Locations around the globe that are very flat, such as, well, I guess we don't really have a flat area shown here. We have more of a mountainous area shown here. Locations around the globe that are very flat and very far from water will experience fewer clouds and precipitation, unless that weather is traveling across the region from somewhere else. In contrast, regions around the globe that are closer to water, such as what we see here, may experience several more instances of clouds and weather events that contain precipitation. So, meaning locations in the geosphere that are closer to bodies of water experience more precipitation. The further the location is from the equator, the colder the precipitation is likely to be. So from this diagram, we can't really tell how close or far away this landform is from the equator, although I do see what looks to be possibly snow caps up here, which tells me maybe it's cold. So the further the location is from the equator, the colder the precipitation is likely to be. Okay, think about what you just learned and type some notes in this second box here. Next, we're going to learn about how the hydrosphere and the geosphere might interact or influence each other. Remember that when we say influence, we mean that a change in one sphere can cause a change in another sphere. Okay, so now we're learning about the hydrosphere and the geosphere. The oceans shape landforms around the globe. As the ocean tides rise and fall twice daily, They erode soil from beaches, melt ice from glaciers, and move sediment around, which creates shifting sandbars. The sizes and shapes of the land affect the surfaces of Earth that are heated by the sun, therefore creating changing weather patterns. Okay, so think about what you just learned and add at least one sentence into this last box here, the hydrosphere and the geosphere. Okay, now looking at the other boxes, come up with your own ideas about how these spheres may interact. Lastly, on the third slide, you're going to click and drag the vocabulary word to the place in the image that shows that sphere. Type at least 2 sentences in the box here explaining the interactions that you can see happening in the picture. Let me know if you have any questions.